Xingqi started off as one of the most controversial characters in Genshin Impact. From low tier list to the release of the game to one of the best support characters in the game at this point in time near version 1.3, Xingqi has gone through a lot of growth and a lot of guides. I'm here today to show you and showcase Xingqi as one of the best support characters in the entire game. The video will be broken out in the timestamps below for your convenience, but we'll start off the video by understanding his talents, some weapon choices, some artifact choices, then we'll go into his constellations, team building, and finally version 1.3's free 4-star character. Not only is Xingqi capable of providing intense damage support to your main characters, he can assist you in capitalizing the vaporized % damage bonus and freezing strong enemies in the Spiral Abyss while supporting your main DPS with a ton of damage to finish off those enemies. But before we can get into a detailed guide, let's first take a step back to understand Xingqi's talents. His skill produces 2 slashes doing comparable damage to a lot of other characters' burst. After the slashes are done, you are surrounded by something called rain swords. Now these swords rotate around you like an aura for 15 seconds, or they disappear when you take damage. Now the purpose of these swords is damage reduction, comparable to Xingqi's hydro damage bonus. At level 9, the talent provides a standard 28% reduction bonus with an additional 20% of Xingqi's hydro damage. Your damage reduction can continue to scale up all the way up to 34% at talent level 15. As a little side bonus, when unlocking Hydropathic, his first talent, Xingqi recovers damage based on 6% of his max HP every time a rain sword is shattered. This is shown briefly in the clip I showed you before. So not only does Xingqi's skill provide insane damage, it also provides damage reduction and recovery for longer survivability. Now on his 4th ascension, he unlocks Blades amidst Raindrops, which is just a base 20% hydro damage bonus to his entire kit. Now this not only affects his damage on his burst, his skill, but also the damage reduction we mentioned earlier, because that is also based off a portion of Xingqi's hydro damage. Last but not least, Xingqi's passive talent is probably one of the best passive talents in the game because it helps you save a lot of resin. Anytime you're crafting character talent books, he has a 25% chance of refunding a portion of them in order to be used again. To do a quick showcase, we'll go to the Alchemist and we'll craft the Philosophies of Prosperity. I'm going to craft 10, and in theory, using Xingqi as a character, we should get a portion of these back to craft again. So if I craft 10 Philosophies of Prosperity, you can see I got 2 of them back. That is exactly 20 resin or 1 run in a domain. So as you can see, this is very helpful. Now activating Xingqi's burst is when he shines the most. As you can see, whenever conducting DPS, rain swords fly out of the sky, hitting any opponent in its path, dealing insane amounts of damage. Now taking a quick look at Xingqi's burst description shows that anytime a normal attack is triggered, rain attacks are dealt, dealing hydro damage for any active character. This is what makes him such a great support character. The burst does 103% damage at skill level 11 and continues all the way up to 129% at talent level 15. If you are constantly normal attacking, these blades are released every 1 second, so in the span of 15 seconds, 15 instances of damage will be dealt by Xingqi whenever your character is conducting normal attacks. Now that we have a deeper understanding of Xingqi's talents, we'll go straight into his weapon builds. We'll take a look at 3 to 5 star weapons and see exactly which one is best in slot for Xingqi and best for you. Now whether you are a free to play or a pay to play, the best part about this character is that its best in slot weapon is a 3-star weapon obtainable throughout your adventures against Genshin Impact. Through chests and anything else, you can make this weapon R5, and that is called the Harbinger of Dawn. But first we'll take a look at all the weapons I'm going to be comparing in this video. Now in our weapon comparison guide, we'll be looking at the 3-star Harbinger of Dawn, the 4-star Favonius sword, the 4-star Sacrificial sword, the 4-star Black sword, and finally a weapon I do not have but it's a very good weapon on Xingqi, the 5-star Summit Shaper. Let's start off by understanding why the Harbinger of Dawn is so great. It is because its substat is a crit damage 42.7%, which can go even higher at level 90. This is currently level 80. Its refined level 5 also provides 28% crit rate when your HP is above 90%. Because he's a support character, you're going to be switching into this character using your skill, your burst, and switching him out, so he'll always be above that 90% threshold, thus always giving you 28% crit rate throughout the entirety of his burst duration. Now what makes our next weapon, the Sacrificial sword, so great is the high energy recharge. Because Xingqi's burst requires 80 energy, which is very high, energy recharge is great. The special effect of the Sacrificial sword lets him end his skill's own cooldown, and every time Xingqiu uses his skill, he recovers 15 energy. So if that special effect triggers, that's an instant 30 energy on top of the energy recharge percentage. So you're looking at approximately 50 to 60% energy as soon as both his skills are used. Now, even though the Favonius Sword has the exact same substat and the exact same base attack as the Sacrificial Sword, it's only be used if you do not have the Sacrificial Sword because the special effect isn't as effective. Now, although the Black Sword special effect does not do anything for Xingqiu as a support build, because of its higher base attack and its substat crit rate, it does become a contender for one of the best in slot weapons for Xingqiu. Now, for all the pay-to-play players out there who have the Summit Shaper, this is a great alternative to Harbinger of Dawn if you want to use it. The fact that it provides such a high base attack and the substat also provides such a high attack bonus along with the special effect, the Summit Shaper does become a contender. However, in a support build, the Summit Shaper can't utilize its effects to the fullest because its effects only maximize when you have a shield. But because Xingqiu was just on the field for a little bit and he switched out, the shields won't really affect Xingqiu's damage, so the potential of this weapon is wasted. However, for those of you who do have it lying around, I will put it in the build for you to see if it is a good choice or not. Now, for those of you who don't know, you can go to www.genshinimpactcalculator.com and put in your current stats, your artifacts, your weapons, constellations, and talent levels, and it spits out almost an exact accurate number of what your DPS will be like. So using that, I conducted these experiments with all 5 weapons at level 90. I swapped my weapons from the Harbinger of Dawn all the way up to the Summit Shaper on the GenshinImpactCalculator.com, and I got the following results. You can see my crit rate and crit damage changing on the side there. Anytime I swapped the Harbinger of Dawn, I switched my last artifact to crit rate artifact because I no longer got the crit rate bonus from Harbinger of Dawn. I tried to keep my crit rate consistent upon all weapons, and the corresponding crit damage bonus came from whatever artifact I had free. So as you can see, the Harbinger of Dawn, this is the skill, does surpass the Favonius Sword, the Sacrificial Sword, and the Black Sword in crit damage for every weapon. The Black Sword is very much tied with the Harbinger of Dawn, but since Harbinger of Dawn is 3-star, why not use it? The Summit Shaper, however, surpasses all 4 of them. Now, we all know it is a great weapon, but why would you use a 5-star weapon when a 4-star weapon can do comparable damage? Yes, the non-crit hits will be very high with Summit Shaper because of the base attack bonus, but the critical hits are almost identical because using the Harbinger of Dawn, we have a crit damage bonus of around 220% versus the Summit Shaper, which has a lot less. Yes, the average is also higher on the Summit Shaper, but again, it is a 5-star weapon, very hard to get if you do have it lying around, and that's only if you don't want to use it on a different character, you can use it on Xingqiu. The same exact thing persists in the breakdown of burst damage. As you can see, the Harbinger of Dawn does a 4060 crit per sword versus the Summit Shaper doing 4165. They're both very comparable and very close, therefore I do recommend going with the Harbinger of Dawn over any other weapon, even though the other weapon is stronger, it's just a lot easier to obtain. Now, if you do not have a team built around energy recharge, the Favonius Sword or the Sacrificial Sword are very good options, but we'll talk more about that during the T building segment. Now, for those of you who are visual learners, you can see in this graph, in the crit and average segment, the Harbinger of Dawn is very close to the Summit Shaper, and the Black Sword, which is the third purple graph, chills not far behind. A 3-star weapon being comparable to a 5-star, it is clear that I would rank Harbinger of Dawn number 1, Black Sword number 2, and because of the cost and the rarity of Summit Shaper, I'd rank that weapon number 3. Now, moving on to the next segment of the video, we're looking at Xingqiu's artifacts. Now, the best artifacts hands down are 2-piece Noblesse Oblige and 2-piece Heart of Depth. These artifacts are currently the best in-game for Xingqiu, increasing his damage. Looking at his artifacts, we need substats, crit damage, attack percentage, and crit rate. As you can see, I took a long time to build my Xingqiu to showcase for you guys. Luckily, I got crit damage bonus, attack percentage, and crit rate on my plume. Very, very high stats over here. My Sands of Eon, I got just crit rate right here. And then looking at my goblet, I got a very godly hydro damage bonus with crit rate, attack percentage, and crit damage, all very high, not rolling into HP even once. And then finally, I used a crit damage bonus for my circlet. Now this can be swapped between crit damage and crit rate depending on what weapon you're holding. If your weapon provides crit rate, swap to crit damage. And if your weapon provides anything else, you're going to swap to crit rate because you need that crit rate bonus. Now for the Sands of Eon, it is very, very important to know if you do not have enough energy recharge that you should swap this to energy recharge. Now for a full stat breakdown of my Xingqiu, you can see I have approximately 60% crit rate, 221.8% crit damage, and if I scroll down just to show you my hydro damage bonus, it is at 81.6%. Now because these crit damage stat bonuses are so high, this Xingqiu can do a lot of damage, especially with reactions and his proper team built around him. Moving on to Xingqiu's Constellations, because he is a premiered character currently in the banner and will be a free character, let's take a look. His C1 just increases his range swords by 1, which gives you an additional instance of damage reduction and healing. Now C2 is the first big bonus to Xingqiu. Every time he uses his burst, his opponents lose 15% of their hydro resistance for 4 seconds, and that happens every single time they are hit. And also, his burst increases by 3 seconds, which means you have 3 more instances of damage. We will skip on from his next constellation because we know the next constellation is literally just a bonus of 3 skill levels. So the fourth one is also a very good bonus for Xingqiu. Every time he's in his burst state and you use his skill, his damage increases by a whopping 50%. And you can use the Genshin Impact skill calculator to see how much this actually increases his final damage. Now skipping over the next constellation level, let's go straight to C6 because C6 provides the biggest bonus for Xingqiu. Now activating 2 of Guha's Sword Rain Cutter's sword rain attacks greatly increases the damage of the third. This means during his first instance of damage he does 2 swords, the second instance does 3, and the third instance does 5. Now every time this third instance occurs, he recovers 3 energy. And I'm going to showcase it for you guys here so you can see it very clearly. My first auto attack releases 2, my second one releases 3, and my third one releases 5, and this is repeated, and every third one recovers 3 energy. This is great because Xingqiu's high cost on its burst is 80 energy. Now on to the final and best part of the video is team building. I'm going to showcase every team member that I think is good with Xingqiu, who is a support character. The first one being the main DPS, Xingqui. Because she's a pyro character, the sheer number of vaporized reactions that she can create is unreal, and each one of these reactions causes 200% damage. You can further capitalize on this by adding in other teammates like Sucrose, which increase elemental mastery, thus increasing the vaporized damage being outputted. So on this team, I recommend the main DPS is Xingqui, the support character as Xingqiu, Sucrose as another support, and finally Bennett as your healer because Bennett will increase attack, thus increasing your overall damage. Child is another great character to pair with Xingqiu because Child does mainly hydro damage in a lot of instances of it, and Xingqiu reduces hydro resistance. The combination of both means a crazy amount of hydro damage and a lot of procs of hydro DPS of Xingqiu's burst, and insane energy recovery because they're both the same element. The addition of Kaya as a main physical DPS would create for an amazing freeze team, just freezing your opponents non-stop and just conducting as much DPS as possible. Now, any Hydro character with a cryo character is a great addition. Hey, if you really love both Kaya and Child, why not combine both of them on your team? Now you have a lot more hydro damage with Child being the main DPS, and you have Kaya freezing all your enemies, so you can just make him a support build. If you decide to go with the Child Xingqiu Kaya team, I recommend another cryo healer, either Chi-Chi or Diona, because you want the elemental resonance for 15% crit rate, which does great on Child. You can also replace Diona for Bennett if you want to add some melt reactions into the team and get some increased DPS from your healer. As you can see, we are having so much fun with these team names. The 4-star all-star team produces Frozen, Melt, and Vaporize reactions all on the same team while having a dedicated healer, Bennett, increasing their attack as well. Now you can take one of these characters out and switch them with Sucrose, another 4-star character, to increase those reaction damages. Now the last team I will showcase to you is the Originals. This is my main team. I use Venti to gather up the enemies, Xingqiu to induce Hydro, and then Diluc to finish off with a lot of Vaporize reactions. Now because Venti recovers any energy from my Hydro characters, this is why I can focus on Xingqiu's crit damage and not build him with energy recharge, because of the batteries on my team. Of course, Bennett's also there for the elemental resonance and damage bonus. Now Xingqiu fits with so many other characters I did not showcase, such as Ningguang and Fischl and many others. So I want to give you guys one more tip about the upcoming patch 1.3, and we'll end this video right there. When 1.3 drops, you get to pick one of these 4-star characters for free, and Xingqiu should be your first pick. If you already have Xingqiu at C6 or don't need its constellations, Ningguang is a close second. Well, there you have it, folks, Xingqiu's deep dive video. If you want to see another one, just comment the name in the section below of the character you want, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you gamers next time.